Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Story number 1. Hold My Beer, written by the Anti-Snipe. Incident report, dated 26 March 2367, planet G6735-J. As I jumped out of the shuttle, my first thoughts were, wow, and here I thought the shithole couldn't get any worse. This dock had pretty much been one of the most badly maintained docks this side of the G67 system. But the attempted alien invasion had actually managed to make it worse. Everywhere I saw, drones were piled up. Both the peacekeeping forces' sleek white ones and the aliens' dark green ones. Buildings were either gutted in flames or had been riddled with plasma bolt holes. The streets were full of debris from the crumbling buildings, and the pavements devoid of the usual infestation of wasted aliens and shady drug dealers might as well have been dirt beneath my feet as I gingerly walked towards my target of investigation for today. The establishment, from the looks of it, had fared considerably better than its neighbors, considering they didn't really exist anymore. The sign was half intact and said, "Bar of..." The rest was gone, turned into molten slag of glass and metal by what I could only guess was a plasma fire. My boots crunched ominously as I carefully stepped through the shattered pile of glass that had probably been a door. Inside was a set of 3 tables. Well, 2. The third was a mess of synthesized wooden dust. My contact seemed to be leaning on the table and the left, not putting his entire weight on it from the looks of the situation. "Well, Tillich, what do you have for me?" I asked him as I walked over, looking around me. The bar had probably seen worse from the looks of it. The bartender's counter was a mess of long-dried alcohols that still reeked with the pungent and stale odors. Thylek pushed off the table, suavely taking out his tablet from his holster as he said, "Well, sir, as you can see, the area seemed to be one of the least affected by the invasion, despite apparently being the epicenter of the attack. I was tasked with finding out more about what happened here. Well, after a lot of digging through the back room, I managed to find the recordings of what happened here. So apparently, this is where it all started. Here," he said, handing me the tablet. "This is the last recording I could pull up before the camera. Well," he motioned to my rear left. Looking up to where he pointed, I saw what had been a camera, hanging off its wires. "That's okay. Good job," I said, complimenting him for a job well done. Turning on the tablet, I fiddled with the controls for a moment to get the exact time. "Well, I'll be off, boys," said Sam, as he threw down his cards and yawned. "We launch at dawn, so make sure you all get some sleep." "Well, dang, Sammy, I didn't know you cared," exclaimed John, who was an old-timer himself, sounding downright patronizing. "But I wouldn't if my goddamn pilot hadn't been chugging whiskey like it was some sort of weak-ass Aquilian liquor," exclaimed Sam as the other 2 friends howled in laughter. He picked up his hat and dropped some bills on the table. Wearing his hat, he looked around at the nearly empty bar. Only the old bartender was standing at the counter, polishing glasses. Turning around, he smiled at John as he passed by, saying, "Well, John, if you didn't..." He was rudely interrupted as the grenade exploded outside, the shockwave crashing into the glass paneling and himself, as he was physically hurled backwards into the other table. "Well, crap, Sammy, you okay?" asked one of his crew, Jack, running over to see if he'd been hurt anywhere. All 3 of his friends were up now, as sirens blared outside and aliens in exosuits stormed the streets. But damn if I'm feeling this tomorrow," grinned Sam as he got off his ass. In that moment, an alien walked in with some sort of energy weapon. Fast as greased lightning, Sam drew an ancient projectile weapon from his holster. He fired once, twice, 3 times. The huge lead bullets sent the alien flying through the already shattered glass door. Sam advanced outside, picking up and dusting his fallen hat as he did, senses of full alert as he scanned the area. "Hey, boys," he called. "Looks like an awful lot like an alien invasion." Turning around, he saw his 3 crewmates, Doc Jonathan, One-Eared Jack, and Cook Nathan. 3 men he'd done countless missions with, and knew that he could trust. Behind them, the bartender stood frozen, unable to comprehend the fact that the sector was being attacked. "I'm gonna kill some of these slimy-ass bastards. You're coming!" called Sam as he jumped out of the bar stalls, a feral grin on his face. "Count me in!" called out Jack, following him. "Lunch is on the one who has the least kills!" exclaimed Nathan as he drew a sawed-off scattergun from his boot. "I'm too old to die in one of these fecking invasions," muttered John as he picked up his hat from what remained of the table where Sam had fallen. Downing half of Nathan's glass of beer, he wasn't looking. He turned to the still frozen bartender. "Hey, barkeep," he said, voice gravelly. "Hold my beer." End of story. Story number 2. Will Justify, written by British Tea Company. For a few moments, the Libyan tyrant Zion was in unbridled fury as his massive hands smashed at his console. Inconceivable that the human fleet had not only managed to have made it all the way through the Libyan Empire's vast defense network, but that they had even managed to defeat the joint Libyan armada that had roughly outnumbered the human invasion force 3-1, all the while taking minimal casualties. How this was even possible in the face of such a weak race defeating the most powerful military in the galaxy was simply beyond imagination. Humans, they were small creatures with such soft skin and noticeable lack of natural defenses. Ever since their introduction to the galaxy, these shrimps garnered a reputation as talkers. They always visited the people they met, talking, doing their infernal talking, which they called diplomacy. With the so-called communication, they had made themselves known throughout the galaxy. Even those who sat on the other side of the galaxy knew about humans and their reputation of being clever little gnomes. The Living Empire certainly could have used some intelligent slaves within its folds. After all, given how rapidly human technology advanced in terms of starship engineering and planetary colonization, it only made sense that such a weak race could survive off of their cleverness and their willingness to suck up to the rest of the galaxy. When the Livans actually began their invasion, they found themselves fighting a war on at least 5 fronts as the humans. Yes, that's right. That's why they were about to lose this war. The damned Ascan Republic, Saloran Empire, Arcan Alliance all declared war on the Livans the moment that they much stepped into human space. This was not even counting the dozens of no-name races, which had decided all to become splinters within the living skin. It was intolerable. What should have been an easy one for the mighty Livans turned into an absolute cesspool of war. Zion was being hailed. Opening the comm channel, he saw the insufferable view of the human general who gazed coldly at him. "Lord Zion, your world is surrounded. Your fleet has been destroyed. Surrender immediately, and we promise your people fair treatment, and you a fair trial for your crimes against our people." "Like how I am," Zin snarled. "Arrogant creature. You've only defeated a part of my fleet. As we speak, the colonies of the Living Empire are en route right now. You cannot win this." "Perhaps you place too much faith in your army. We've received word from our allies that our flanks have been secured, and that the 2nd, 3rd, and 8th Fleet have all been completely annihilated. Your army is no more. Your colonies are now at the mercy of us. This is your final warning. Surrender." "Not a chance, human. If you want me, you're going to have to catch me. Come down onto my world. I got plenty of presents for you down here. Plan B doesn't involve taking you alive. But frankly, I'd have less fun if you did surrender. The formal voice of the human general was replaced by a rough snarl that had never been seen from a human. Lord Zion felt slightly nervous for a second as he glanced around. His guards were still there, and there was no sign of any assassins. Just as he thought that he was about to be out of the woods, he saw the energy spikes from the human vessel. Human! What are you doing? You wouldn't! Impossible. Humans, they would not do this. They couldn't do this. Genocide. Humans! Those two things didn't belong in the same sentence. And what reason was there to do this? After all, that was at stake. The humans risked tarnishing their image as a wishy-washy diplomats the moment they fire those orbital weapons upon the world. This is for the people you killed, Zion. Don't worry, I've already pre-written explanation for our allies. It is quite convincing. But the truth is, I doubt they'll care about this, overzealous retaliation from the human First Fleet after our diplomats have another go at it. End of story. The algorithm reckons you should be watching this video next, and I recommend that you should be always watching my video. So, click with energy! And yes, clicking that does help the channel. Thank you very much. I would just quickly like to give thanks to our Tier 5 members. Elithia, Barky, Fudicule, Meridian117, Cam Maxwell, Casper Arnholtz, Albard and Gusta, Savage Patch Papa, and Lord Azrakal.